We're sticking with electronics. The world's two largest makers of consumer electronics, Japanese giants Sony and Panasonic, reported earnings this morning and actually narrowed their forecast losses. For more on this, I'm joined by Henry Blodget. He's CEO of the Business Insider, and he's back with us now for Blodget on Bloomberg. Henry, the story at Sony and Panasonic seems to be what we've seen throughout the world economy as of late. Cost cuts, the only way to eke out a better bottom line.
That's right. They both did better, but they are slashing their businesses. Unfortunately, there's actually more similarity between Time Inc. and Sony than you would think, just looking at them, because Sony is getting shelled in just about all of its businesses, from Microsoft to Apple to Samsung and others. So it is a cost-cutting story.
Between these two companies, they're eliminating 40,000 jobs, and it doesn't look like the bloodletting is going to stop because margins just aren't improving. And even though the stocks have ticked up on the back of this news, it's just not a pretty picture going forward.
That's right. If the economy recovers, obviously they'll get a cyclical boom from that. But the real issue is, where's the growth going to come from? The TV business has been stolen by Samsung and others, commoditized. Even PlayStation, which was Sony's pure claim to fame, now is losing ground to Nintendo and Microsoft. So they have a ton of work to do.
In terms of the products, the blockbusters, what will they have to focus on? Game consoles?
Well, they certainly have to focus on the next generation of that. Microsoft made up a huge amount of headway over the past 10 years. The game business, the console business, is a cyclical business. Every 5 years you come out with a new generation. Sony has to gain back some of the ground it's lost in the next generation.
But not just Sony, Nintendo as well. We haven't really talked about, I mean, Nintendo is part of that picture. You've got the PlayStation, you've got the Xbox, and you've got the Wii. Both Sony and Nintendo have had to cut their prices just to be able to generate the kind of volume that they need.
Well, Nintendo had a great run. The Wii came out of nowhere, surprised a lot of people and so forth. But again, these consoles have a very fixed life cycle, and we are now moving to the end of that life cycle. Now it's going to all about the next generation and what that's going to look like.
Henry, how concerned are you about margins? I mean, they do have to compete in a very cutthroat business, and so it's the margins at the end of the day that get squeezed.
Well, that's the problem for a lot of Sony's business, especially in the TVs. They have completely lost the edge in terms of the premium priced product where they could command a big margin. You look at what Apple is doing, for example, not in televisions, but in some of the other businesses that Sony used to own. Apple has completely grabbed the mantle. They have huge margins, in part because they're controlling a platform, which Sony is not doing, except in the PS3.
Now let's talk about business being taken away from some of the heavyweights. In another industry, we're talking about television versus mobile phones. The NBA on your iPhone, this appears to be coming down the pike. What's your take?
Well, obviously, you have some excitement among NBA fans. You'll be able to see the games everywhere you go. I think this particular announcement is less important than the implications for the entire industry of television and leagues. We saw this with Major League Baseball. The leagues are starting to go direct to the fans. They've never been able to do that before. And ultimately, that's going to have huge repercussions for the TV industry, where now it's the cable companies and the broadcast networks that totally control that relationship.
Which model do you like better, the NBA at $40 a year or MLB.com on your iPhone for 99 cents a game?
Probably 99 cents a game. $40, they're packaging it wrong. They should do it on a monthly basis. $40 actually sounds like a big ticket item.
Right, 99 cents.
That's right.
It's cheaper than a can of Coke.